Hello everyone and welcome to Crusader Kings II. I'm your host, the Revenge, and today I'm gonna play a little bit of a tutorial for you guys because I was actually planning on doing a let's play, but when I got in I actually recorded one episode. I didn't quite like it because I thought it was too messy, so I decided to make a tutorial instead to learn you guys a little bit of what this game is and how to play it. I'm thinking that when you buy this game and you don't have any DLC or anything, the only options available, I think, in this menu, which is the starting menu, is I think the High Middle Ages and the two after that. So one of the most common things you might play is in the High Middle Ages. You'll play as Duke William de Normandy. So this is just really an easy way to start. You can do a custom game setup. I'll probably explain that later in a later episode, but let's just head in here and talk a little bit of what this game is. We just have to wait until everything is loaded and adapted and stuff. There we go. So when you start the game, you'll pretty much see this. You'll see this beautiful country, which in this case is the coast of France, or actually pretty much the north of France, a little bit of Holland over here, and England. If you guys are not too good at geography. Anyway, if we zoom out, we can actually see the entirety of Europe and even up to India over here. The thing, Crusader Kings is a game where you play a house, is I guess the most appropriate way to say it. You're the head of a house, a family, and you rule a nation of some kind. Maybe sometimes it's a duchy within, for instance right now we're a duchy within France, so we're not even the ruler of France, we're this tiny duchy over here. We can actually see it if I click this button over here. We can see a number of colors over here in France, and we are this specific purplish color that says Normandy. That's all owned by Duke William, and you play Duke William. You don't play the nation itself, you play Duke William. And of course the nation is a big part of it, because right now we're at war for England. We could actually take England if we do this well, and then we would be the King of England. So then you basically are England, but in essence you're still just William. And the thing is that this game, you might think that, you know, I'm only William, what will happen if I die? Well, this game actually plays for multiple hundreds of years, and in fact what happens is this guy was born in 1027, so when he dies you get to play his heir, which in this case is Robert of Maine. So you play his heir, who is then the head of the House of de Normandy, and you play on. So this game goes on for a long time, but the main thing is that you actually play a character, and this character has a number of stats. He, for instance, is a brilliant strategist, which gives him a few benefits to his stats over here. For instance, his martial skill determines how well he is at fighting. He is also a legitimized bastard, which gives him a -1 diplomacy, but also tells you a little bit about him, because his I believe his father is just had a child with a random woman, and that's you, and you got his duchy, and for some reason you also got a claim for England. I can't remember off the top of my head why that is, but I believe that the recently that king, who we see over here, told William that he wanted him to succeed the throne of England, and now William is expressing that claim. Anyway, so the thing about this game is that it is not like your Age of Empires or Civilization or any of those games where you just build your country and make it as large as you can and then slaughter some other countries. I mean, in the end, that is what you do. But in those games, the way you wage war is quite basic. I mean, it has mechanics in which you which can be very interesting in the way you fight. For instance, Total War is the same, where you have very intricate battles on a battlefield, which all isn't in this game. But the difference here is that in order to wage war, you actually have to have a valid reason to go to war. For instance, right now, if I wanted to declare war on my liege, the King of France, I couldn't do that. There's only one reason, that is that, well, our armies are raised, so it doesn't allow me to wage war. But and I do have reasons to go to war if I didn't. But you need a valid reason. I don't know, if we look at, for instance, at the King of Hungary, and we wanted to declare war on him, we can actually see that again. We have you can see that in that's the 6th point. We have raised army levies, so we can't declare war on him. But also the 2nd point is that we don't have a valid casus belli, which means that we have no valid reason to go to war with Hungary. We just we're far away. We don't have any claims on his lands. He is of the right religion, so there's just no we don't have a valid reason to go to war with Hungary. We we can't just do it willy-nilly. So that is a bit what this game is about. You try to carve out a nice piece of land for your dynasty, and it is very fun, because I think that this is one of those games where you don't really have an end goal per se. With the Civilization, for instance, you try to win the game. There is actual win conditions, and in this one there isn't really. For instance, I once played as the Duke of Anjou, which is close to here. I think, yeah, it's over here. This is Anjou. I was the Duke there, and I decided I wanted to, you know, form England, which wasn't in that particular game yet. So I tried to conquer England, and that I set myself that goal, and it wasn't actually a goal in game. I just wanted to do that. So so for instance, in this game, your first goal might be I want to become the King of England, which is logical, because that's how you start. You actually start at war for England. And but maybe you are also like, well, I don't like the way France is always bullying everyone, so I also want to conquer France. So that might be a long-term goal you have. And that's the nice thing about it, that you set your own goals, and the goal rarely is world domination. You can do world domination, I believe. There's people who do that every single time they play this game. And luckily for me, I feel I'm not good enough to do that. That seems a bit weird to say that, but I feel this game is a lot more fun when everything can still develop around you. And for instance, while you are trying to carve out your little kingdom over here, or I say little, it will be quite large. At the same time, maybe the Holy Roman Empire is falling apart, and you can't really partake in it, but it's just falling apart next to you as you play. And meanwhile, the Seljuks are conquering the entire world in the east, and they conquer India maybe. And I don't know, basically kingdoms and empires rise and fall around you, and you can actually see the whole landscape develop, and you don't need to conquer everything. That's the beauty of this game. Anyway, that's enough rambling about what this game is about and why it's cool. Let's see how you actually have to start this game. The thing is that there's first of all, you see a number of shields here. This is usually things that you have to pay attention to, but the thing that I always start with, so I don't forget, is I go to this screen. This is the first one you can do. It's a council, and your council has a number of dudes in them, and each guy can do a number of things. Each has 3 options, and they can be useful in a various number of ways depending on what you really need. For instance, right now we have a chancellor. Chancellors usually are set up so you can press claims or create claims on countries or regions. This is important because basically you can't just say, well, this is now mine. You actually have to have a document that says that it historically should belong to you, even though it's completely forged. You have to have such a document. So that is basically what you can do with the fabricate claims. I'm sorry. You need that button, that option, and basically what happens is you click this, and then you can place it anywhere in the world. And then he goes there, and he has a certain chance to fabricate a claim. What could also happen is that a noble is infuriated, so he might find out and he hates you, and in the worst case, a mob is assembled and he is killed. That happens. What you can also do is improve diplomatic relations. This is nice when your vassals hate you, which is actually an important thing in this game. You need to do vassal management. And you can also sow dissent, which is basically the opposite. You try to make vassals of someone else hate their lord, so the realm falls apart, which can be very useful. Now, I mentioned vassals and how they are important. You can see your vassals over here, which is in your character screen, and then the tab vassals. These are all the guys who basically own land and fall directly under your reign. Now each of these guys can also have vassals of their own, so it becomes a bit of a tree really. But right now everyone is in green, everyone loves us to some extent. I mean, this one only has 31 and this one 39, so it's not all great, but it can go from -100 to +100, so it's still quite good. And the reason you want to keep these guys happy is because they will dedicate more of their armies to your army if they like you better. And if they hate you, they might try to get independence, which or do other things, like maybe install someone else on the throne, which gets you in all sorts of trouble and basically loses you power. And that's not good. So you want to try and keep them happy. That's an important part of this game. And that's something you can do with improved diplomatic relations. There's a lot of ways to actually improve their opinion of you. And this is one. You basically just click this and place it in a region where one of your vassals or whoever is. It can even be allies or stuff like that. And you just place him there and he will start and try and improve relations with that guy. So now we move on to the Marshal. I clicked this button because right now he's leading an army, and that's not something we want. We want him to be able to select some of these things. He can do 3 things as well. He can suppress revolts, which is nice because sometimes your peasants hate you and they want to rebel against their lord. That's basically a different kind of war. It's a bit strange, and basically anything that they any land that they siege and successfully siege, that becomes theirs if you have to surrender to them in the end, if I recall correctly. You can also train troops, which basically means that you get more troops at your disposal, which is nice because that also helps you in, for instance, in trying to suppress rebellious vassals. If a vassal tries to rebel, they usually kind of gauge how many men you can muster and how many men they can muster, and yeah, if they feel that they have a good chance, they might rebel. And by training troops, you will raise the amount of troops you have, and therefore make it less likely that they rebel. And of course also these troops will help in wars that you wage on other people. And you can get the research military tech, which if I understand correctly, it spreads the military tech that you have in the province you put it in. So basically the tech in your country will probably become more uniform, so you can build good buildings with good troops everywhere rather than just in one province. Then we've got a steward who can raise taxes for you, which is nice because you get a better income that way. It only works on one province at a time though. You can also oversee construction, which speeds up the building of buildings. Although you don't build buildings that much, so I don't really use this much. You could use it specifically if you want to get something done quickly. Or you could research economy tech, which does the same thing as the research of military tech, only in this time for economy tech. And you've got your spy master who can scheme, which is nice because that way you can discover plots, which is useful because that way if anyone plans to murder someone who you don't want to see murdered, you can try and stop it. You can also buy the spy network, which increases your plot power, which is useful if you want to murder someone yourself. And you can study technology, which basically is stealing technology from a more advanced place. And then you've got your core chaplain, which is useful especially if you're fighting against another religion, which we'll get to later, because you can change the religion of the characters that live in a certain region and change the religion of the region itself, which means you again get less revolts and less angry vassals. Because if a vassal has a different religion than you, they kind of hate you for it. You can also spread the cultural tech, which is again the same as the other two techs. And you can improve religious relations, which is a bit like the improve diplomatic relations. It only is, this time it's for priests and other religious figures. You can also put them in Rome, like get the Pope to like you. So that's the 5 things you can do, and usually what I do is when I get a kind of peaceful start, I would say go with fabricate claims, so you can actually get some claims on the countries around you and attack when they're weak, or when they are already weaker than you can go at it straight away. For instance, if you start here, you could go and say like, well, you know, in the future after I've won the War of England, assuming that you do, you might want to attack Brittany. So you can extend your lands, because your lands will be England, which is the country you're trying to conquer, as well as your own. So England will basically become this, and this piece over here, this Normandy, you will just eat out of France. Now, so you might want to go in Brittany, so you might want to try and get a claim on one of these 2 regions, or if you're interested in one of these other ones, you can get those. In Marshall, I usually set to either train troops if I want to be, if I feel like I don't have enough men, or research some military tech if I feel like I need to spread my technology a bit more. I usually don't use press revolts. I don't know why, I just don't do it. The steward is easy for collecting taxes if I want to expand some forts and stuff, if I want to build some buildings. This one I rarely use, but I think it could be useful if you want to churn out a building fast, especially if you make a lot of money. You could really speed up your process that way. And you can research the economy tech, which I usually do if I feel that my tech isn't spread out enough. So basically you juggle this a little bit. Now the spy master I often set to scheme, but lately I've heard that it's actually better to study technology, especially in Constantinople, which apparently is a very smart place. And then the core chaplain, I tend to want to use research cultural tech to spread the tech more, but this one I sometimes use if because your priests, especially if you're a Christian ruler, they send money to the Pope unless they like you better than the Pope. So you might want to improve their relationship with you, so that they send you the money. the taxes rather than the Pope. And this one is basically converting the county. You might want to do that if you are fighting like Muslims, like down here. If you're fighting some Muslims and you conquered some of their land, you might have some Muslim lands and you want to convert that. It's basically just so your country becomes more stable, which is a smart thing to do, especially with the if you want to export the save game at the end to Europa Universalis, which is also a Paradox game like this and like Cities Skylines. It really helps with that game because their religion is even more important to have more uniform. Right, so basically then you have settled these people, and then you can get a look at the other tabs, which is laws. Laws, usually you can't change this early in the game. You have to wait a few years because you have to have reigned a number of years, which is actually true in this case. I guess they changed that because in the past you actually had to have 10 in-game years as well. Either way, the reason you want to change, or would want to change any of this, is because right now it's Gavelkind. And Gavelkind basically means that your titles are divided amongst your sons or daughters if you don't have any sons in this case, because it's rare that that daughters are of equal stature as the sons. So basically, because it's divided up equally, and your eldest son gets the primary title, it basically means that a lot of your kids all have parts of your land, and they all have claims to all of your land. And basically, if one is better liked or has a few more troops than the character you're playing, then after you die, you get civil war with people who want the throne, and basically your country is chaos. And I never like that very much. So a way to go is, for instance, primogeniture, which means that the eldest child gets all the titles, which all the other children hate. But you know, at least your country is a bit more stable. There still might be factions though to install someone else, but at least they don't have any power of themselves and have no way to press the claims themselves. Seniority means that the eldest member of your family gets it. So, for instance, William, does he have a brother? I don't know. Yeah, he has a sibling, Robert of Mortain. He would probably get... no, actually this guy would probably get the title then, rather than your eldest son. So it kind of moves through the family rather than down your branch. And there's a few different ones as well, like elective Gavelkind actually gives it to gives your primary title to the elected son rather than the eldest. Elective monarchy. There's a lot of different things you can choose, and different reasons you would choose them. Basically, everyone gets upset whatever you choose. Then here's the technology screen. You can actually see how much technology you have. It kind of means stuff like you could get some extra piety, which is one of the things you can see up here. It's it helps with how well people like you, and sometimes you want to spend it, for instance, to get holy orders, which are mercenaries for basically religious mercenaries you can only use against other religions and heretics and stuff. So for instance, some give you buildings and stuff. You've got the military, which we've got raised right now. You can raise them from here, or you can buy some mercenaries. Here's the intrigue. You can find the prisoners and the plots and the threats as well here, and you can make some decisions here, like holding a feast or creating a new kingdom or an empire. All that kind of stuff you can do over here. We'll get into all of that later, I'm sure. I'm not sure whether that will be a tutorial on itself or will just come up in a let's play. Here is a faction. Right now, because we're actually a vassal of France, we can actually start a faction and you can see we can do stuff like independence, or make another guy the king of France, or change the succession law. It's really stuff like that that you can make a faction on. And basically, when you start a faction, for instance independence, whoops, you can see how much strength you have. Basically, right now it says I can muster 5,000 men, which is a bit weird since we have 14,000 right here, but whatever. And that is apparently 206% of the total amount of men our liege lord can raise. This is because he probably doesn't have too many men himself, and everyone hates him so much that they don't want to give him too many men when he gets into war. So basically he has way less men than I can muster myself, which means that this is a bad thing for him. And basically that's how it works. You can see how many men I can muster, and if I was an AI right now, I would actually immediately send my demands that I want independence from the King of France. And yeah, it would come either to war or he would accept. And here we've got the religion tab where we can see the Pope, and we can see everyone, every one of our vassals that is a bishop. Which is one, and we can appoint a successor and stuff. And this bishop, we can actually fund his campaign to become the next cardinal, and the cardinals then might become, when they do become a cardinal, they become one of these college of cardinals, and then one of them gets elected for pope. And if the pope is of your court, you usually get some benefits because they automatically like you, and gets a lot easier to get some stuff done, like excommunications and stuff like that. Now, I think that with that, I'm gonna stop this first episode, this first tutorial, where we've looked at how you probably should put down your council and what all the buttons up here do. And next time we'll see some more of the starting things you want to do when you just started a game, before you press the button to so you can actually go and play. And then we will move on, and probably I'll show you some of the different map types and stuff like that. So I hope to see you guys then, and until then, see you next time. Cheerio!